Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to my series UX exercises, where I show you exercises that you can use in your daily UX practice. Today we are going to be going over empathy maps, and I was never too much of a believer of empathy maps because I always heard things like empathy maps are here to help you build empathy with your users. And then what? So what I needed to know as a UX designer were, when should I use an empathy map? What kind of clients this will work best for? Can I run this remotely? You know, the real questions you have when your project has a timeline and also a budget. So I thought today I would share some of those answers with you and some tips that I've learned along the way. Let's get right into the video. An empathy map is a way to visualize users' attitudes and behaviors. To create one, you need markers, a piece of paper or some surface to write on, a bunch of sticky notes, and a group of people. Take your paper and draw your user at the center of your page. Then draw 4 lines to separate the paper into 4 quadrants. In each quadrant, you're going to label what kind of content should go inside. The 4 categories you need are do, say, feel, and think. Okay, let's create a concrete example to show how you would facilitate this. In this scenario, you are a UX designer who will be facilitating an empathy map workshop for a group of stakeholders from a restaurant chain. They're looking to create an online training program for waitstaff. Our empathy map will highlight the thoughts and feelings of a user using the current online system. For the sake of the exercise, let's assume we're facilitating a workshop for 5 stakeholders. Depending on the number of participants, I like to split them off into groups of about 3 to 6, and ideally from different roles in the organization. I do this because there always seems to be some kind of agreement that's needed before something actually gets put onto the empathy map. And what I want to emphasize with this exercise is to go for quantity and also work rapidly. And whenever I facilitate a workshop, I always like to do an exercise and then explain why and what kind of answers we're trying to seek. Every time I did the other way around, so if I tried to explain why we were doing a particular exercise and then going through the actual exercise itself, I found that participants were really trying to push for the right answer, like there was a right answer, and what I really wanted was to find out these things naturally. But anyways, back to the example. Since in this case we are talking to stakeholders who will not be end users of the system, in order to set the stage, I would create a proto-persona or take a persona and center this exercise around them. Empathy maps can also be done with a group of user personas, but I like focusing on an individual because I don't like feeling like I'm generalizing the thoughts and actions of a group when I don't really have to. As the stakeholders are adding sticky notes, some of the questions I like to ask are, how would the user feel if they had to learn new software? What do you think the user will look at first? What is the user saying now? What does the user want to do? Why do you think they feel that way? What motivates the users to do this? How do you think they would express that? What I'm hoping to do here is to start some good discussions about where there might be some biases towards their end user. If you have stakeholders from different departments, you might also be able to find some contradictions or limits or gaps in their understanding. This is not only just a good exercise for you as a UX person, but also maybe for them so that they can understand a bit more about the organization. So now that we've talked a bit about how we can run this in person, let's talk about how we can do this remotely. My favorite method is using Figma because I usually create my presentations in there anyways. In Figma, use the line tool to create a grid and label the quadrants with the appropriate sections. Use the R key and drag your mouse to create a rectangle. This will act as your card. Inside, hit the T key to type and then group those elements together. As your group gives input, hit Ctrl or Command D to duplicate the group and select on the text element so you can change the text. If you're looking for a more sticky note looking software, you can also do this exercise with Miro. Miro is an online collaboration tool, and the free version lets you create 3 boards. Select a new one using the brain wiring template and give it a title. Then you can assign each sticky note color to a particular participant. Draw out the quadrant using a line tool, and then use the text tool to label each of them. Then drag and drop your sticky notes based on your participants' feedback. An empathy map itself can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, and the discussion afterwards can go on for like an hour. It really just depends on how it evolves. Your job is to listen and absorb, probing as needed, but allowing on-topic discussion as best as you can. If we did separate into groups, I like to go around each group and have a member describe their findings after a set amount of time. After we complete this exercise, I always like to do an on-work section in every workshop that I run. So this is a good way for our client to know that what we did was purposeful and how we're going to use it in the next steps of our design process. Taking a photo of your empathy map, you can synthesize the findings into a list of requirements and needs from the user's point of view. It's at this point that you can also add pain points that were identified and also goals from the user. The answers you get from this is going to be really valuable, but empathy maps cannot and should not ever replace a persona. Since it's easy and straightforward, empathy maps are a really good exercise to use on a client who might not be familiar with the UX process. This is also a good exercise if you have a team that might not be able to communicate with your end user, or if you're trying to find features to add to your backlog. Empathy maps are a really good thing to use at the beginning of your design process, but if you're able to interview your end users, I probably want to prioritize this for something that needs to be in every single project that you're on. Anyways, I hope this was able to answer some of your empathy map questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.